Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to work on the Honda HRX 217. What I'm going to show you is how to remove part of the deck for accessing your transmission. Now this will apply to most of the Hondas that have this plastic deck. The disassembly is relatively the same. So a couple of things to note. We're going to make sure that we disconnect our spark plug. We're going to check our fuel level, make sure it's not topped off. Our fuel level is about a half a tank, hard to see in the video, but that's fine. And we'll discuss a couple of things like the 10mm bolt in the chute and the kind of hidden 12mm bolt for disassembly. So stick with me and we'll get going. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is disconnect the plug wire because we're going to be rotating the engine. We've already checked the fuel. Make sure our mulch bag lever is all the way into mulch. And make sure our oil cap is nice and tight because we're going to flip this thing over on its side. But first I want to show you where the 10mm bolt is, or nut, excuse me, that's inside the chute. Now with the chute held open, and you can hold it open with a pair of vice grips, your arm, whatever. Do you see this metal bracket? Let me get a pointing object. Right here. This 10mm nut and washer are going to come off, and then eventually this bracket will come off. Sorry about that. Eventually this bracket right here will come off also. You want to have your chute selector switch all the way in the mulch position to do this. Now you don't have to do this right now with the mower upright. You can do it with it on its side. So let's get this thing on its side. Our mower is now on the side, and what we're going to be looking at is removing this part of the deck and removing this section of the deck right over here. Now there are a couple of bolts that are hard to get to. Like I said, the 10mm nut that's inside the chute. This is the other side of it right here. Also, you're going to have a 10mm bolt right down here. The tools you'll need to do this job: I have a pair of needle nose pliers, 10mm socket, 12mm socket, 14mm socket. I have an extension, appropriate ratchets to fit. These two are 1/4 inch, this one's 3/8. And a piece of wood. Here I'm using a 1x4, just any piece of wood will work. And in a minute I'll show you what we're going to use it for. Now here, I've taken the wheel off the left side to expose this 10mm bolt right here. Now one of the other tricks you can do, and you can do it while you've got the wheel off, is take this wheel and adjust the adjuster here all the way to the back. That moves that up and out of the way. That would be the low setting. Now here I'm breaking loose this 10mm bolt. Sorry about that. Need 3 hands holding the camera and everything else. So we get the bolt out, and we're going to get the washer out. And did you see that metal collar right there? You want to try and get that out. You have to remove this in order to get this piece off here. You want to remove your blades. You can try and take off the center bolt right here. This will get the adapter right off the crankshaft, keep your blades in place, or you can just remove these 2 bolts right here. To do that, and again I stress, disconnect your spark plug. Move the camera a little bit. We're just going to take this piece of wood. We're going to stick it right there. And we're going to break these bolts loose. You can see how the piece of wood there holds the blades from rotating. Now if they're loose, we can take the piece of wood out and set that aside. And we just take both our blades off together. Okay, the bolts that we're going to be removing will be, just a second here, can't tell, there we go. This bolt, these two are the long ones, they go all the way up into the engine block. This bolt, we're going to skip this one, we'll take off this one, skip that, and take off that. That'll remove these three metal pieces, allowing us to remove this ring. But first, we need to reach inside the chute with a 10mm socket, and we need to remove the nut holding this bolt on. It's real easy to do. It's easy to access. Don't even need to look. You can feel the metal bracket in there and the 10mm nut. I would put the camera in there and show you, but there's no way to get my arm, the camera, and a light in there for you to see. But you can see this nut is starting to get loose. So there's the bolt, there's the nut, and the washer. This is a carriage bolt. Its squared edges will go into that square hole. So we're just going to put these together right now so we don't lose them, set them off to the side. If you got a little butter tub or something to put them in, that's fine. And next, we're going to remove these 12mm bolts. We're going to start with this back plate here. These two are the longest. These go into the engine block. You can see how long they are. I'll go ahead and pull out one of these other ones just to show you a comparison. So you can see the long one and the short one. So these two on this side will be long. The other four will be short. Bring it back when I'm done with that. Okay, we've got the bolts removed. We've got the metal brackets removed. We removed the 10mm nut and bolt that went over here. Now at this time, we just work on this a little bit and that comes out. This is the arm that we were looking at earlier inside the chute. So to get that off, we remove that bracket. We remove the arm. This is where your needle nose will come in handy. If you can't get this out because it's being blocked by the deck like this is, and it won't go out the other way too easily, move your mulching lever set that aside. Now we need to get this cover piece out. Now that we have the control lever off, we're going to remove this piece right here. There is a 12mm bolt and nut. 12mm nut is right inside there. It's real hard to see. And the back side of it is right here. So we get in there with our 12 millimeter and our extension. We break that loose. You might or might not have to put a wrench on the back side. There's a piece of metal there that kind of holds that from turning. So I've got my finger on the back side just so it doesn't push out. There's our nut, and there's our bolt. Now at this time we should be able to remove this piece right here. And there you have access to your belt, your transmission, your cables. I've got another video on how to remove the transmission, how to service the cables, things like that. Put it back together, it's just the reverse order. We start with this plate right here. Now I'll show you a little trick. See, there's a collar right here that might or might not be stuck on yours. I take it out and I put it where that 12 millimeter nut's gonna go. There's an opening for it right there. It makes it real easy to get it in. And then we proceed to start putting this together. Goes together that easy. We'll put our nut on our socket, slip the bolt in from behind, go in there, start tightening it down. That's that for that. Now we will take our control bracket and our pin. Our pin was a little difficult to get out, so it might be a little difficult to go in. If that's the case, we just grab the mulch bag lever and we move it so that we can get the pin in through the side right here. Try and center that as best as possible, and then put your mulch bag lever all the way back over to mulch. Take our bracket, put it on like that. Take this bracket, there's a bronze bushing right there. Line that up, let that free float. At that point, we now take this. You gotta kind of eyeball this. See this? This is gonna go in that hole, or in that slot right there. So we kind of eyeball where it's at. Sometimes you gotta mess with it a little bit. Don't worry if it doesn't go right in. We can fix that in a little bit by just rotating this slightly. You get that in. I always want to start with these first. And we'll run those in with our 12 millimeter. This time we don't have to go super tight. We just want to hold this piece in place until we can get the bracket lined up. Easy way to see if we have it lined up is move our lever. We don't have it lined up yet, so we've got a little slack, and we can move it. And now we can feel it inside that bracket. So we go ahead and we put our other plates on and we tighten it all up. So you get the idea on this. So I'm going to bring you back in a minute after I get all these on and tight. Bring you back in a minute. Okay, those are on nice and tight. We're going to put our blade back on. That's with a 14 millimeter. They're snug. Now comes our piece of wood again. Let me move this camera a little bit. Put our piece of wood in there just to stop the crankshaft and the blades from rotating. And we tighten it down. Okay, we've only got 3 things left. We've got to put our mulch control bracket back on. So we've got our 10 millimeter, or our carriage bolt. That's going to go right through here. We've got the larger washer and the nut. Like I said, we just reach in through the chute, make sure your mulch selector is all the way selected to mulch. And you can feel when that arm is in the correct position, and if it isn't, you can take that moment right then to adjust it a little bit. Okay, that's done. Let me get my light and such adjusted. Show you what's going on up here. Okay, we've got this collar and this bolt. Slip the collar down through the hole right there. Slip the bolt down and start tightening it up. All right, once we get that tightened up, had to set you down there. The only thing we have left to do is put that wheel back on, stand our lawnmower up, and we're done. And of course, you know, reconnect the spark plug. As long as your gas tank is not totally full and your gas cap is tight, your oil cap is tight, that's all there is to removing this section of the deck so you can access the transmission properly, the belt, everything else. Hope this video was helpful. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Give me any ideas you got if there's something you want to see me work on. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you on the next one.